Hi, I'm Barb Kraft, Director of Admissions for the Wharton MBA program in San Francisco.
Hi, and I'm Diane Sharp. I'm the Director of Admissions for the Wharton MBA program for Executives, Philadelphia. Today, we'd like to talk about why Wharton requires a sponsorship letter and letters of recommendation. We require both. They're two different types of letters, and the reason we have these two requirements is we have a very holistic approach to our application. Each of these different types of letters provides a different perspective on you as a candidate. And we really feel that your application would not be complete if we didn't have both of these perspectives included.
So let's jump into what is the difference between the letter of sponsorship and the letter of recommendation. This often causes some confusion for folks, and these are two very different things. The letter of sponsorship is the letter from your employer. That is the person who can sign off onto, who has the authority to provide the release time that is available for the program. And if they are going to sponsor you financially at all, it will go in this letter as well. Now you'll add that person's name into the application portal along with their email address, and they will fill out the recommendation for you and they'll upload it through the system. But it does need to be signed by that person that has that authority and on company letterhead. And what we're really looking for in this sponsorship letter is you have the permission for the time. If they are going to sponsor you financially at all, it'll go into the letter. Now, if you are a fellows candidate, that is someone with less than the 8 years of full-time work experience that we require as part of the program, then we do expect that the company is going to sponsor you for 50% or more of the tuition, and that should be spelled out in this letter. And most importantly, what we like to see in this letter is really the spirit. And that is the spirit of the company, their enthusiasm for your participation in the program, because you are going to grow by leaps and bounds and be able to make amazing contributions to the organization. We do have some great tips out there on our website under the financing section of your MBA, and you can check that out and get some examples. Actually, some of our alumni have even provided their cases that they use to secure sponsorship from their company. And we also have a negotiations video by one of our negotiations professors as well to provide some information. Now, for those of you who are self-sponsored, this letter of sponsorship may be written by you, but Diane and I do ask that if you are self-sponsored, so you own your company, that you do check in with us and have a conversation with us so that we can provide you some individual guidance on how to write this sponsorship letter.
All right, so letters of recommendation are what you tend to think of in a traditional sense. We're looking for qualitative information about you as a professional. And you probably have had to provide letters of recommendation when you were attending undergrad or any jobs. So we do want you to provide them from people who are closer to you. At this level, we don't want letters of recommendation from academics, unless that's, of course, what you are for a living, if you are in the academic arena. But what we really want is someone who can really take the time, share insights into you, why they value you. Ideally, we want your immediate management. All right, we want the person who really relies on you the most. There may be a reason that you could not provide that. If that's the case, you don't feel like you could provide a manager for us as a recommender, please explain that, and we understand once in a while that's the case. But really, we want you to have someone who's going to share, not just know you, but take the time to share, right? You can pick someone who's got a really nice title and maybe they went to Wharton and you're thinking, that's who I want to pick. I've met that person a couple times. But unless that person really has worked with you closely and unless that person has time on his or her schedule to sit down and really share with the committee what they feel about you and why they feel you would gain from this experience and why they feel what they feel you would add to this experience, that would not be the best use of one of your recommendations. There are only 2 recommendations that we require, and that can be included in the application system. You would input that the people's names and email addresses, and they would receive an email from our system with the link to provide their input. We also allow recommenders to upload a document into their recommendations. So I know sometimes people will have already a letter prepared about you and your background and what they value in you. And if that's the case, that's fine. Have them upload that letter as well. But do ask and do make sure that they also read what we're asking of them to make sure that that letter that they've uploaded does reflect all the questions that we've been asking them. All right, and we do understand sometimes recommenders can be very busy and not get around to submitting their recommendations on you. You can submit your application by a deadline without your recommender having submitted the recommendation, but do send those out as soon as possible, sooner than later. You don't want them to delay you too much. If they're not submitting the recommendation very shortly after a deadline, it really could delay you receiving a decision on time. All right, but you can submit your application.
And that's a great point, Diane, is that letters of recommendation, letters of sponsorship are 2 things that are kind of out of your control or out of your hands once you ask somebody. So we always encourage you to have those conversations early on in the process, because you may need to nudge them a few times to make sure those letters are getting to the committee.
Yep, we've heard those. We've had those calls many times.
And these letters are really important to us. And trust me, we do use them as an admissions committee. So oftentimes we'll get asked that question, oh, the letter of sponsorship, can I submit that after I receive an admissions decision? And no, you can't. It's an important part of the application process. We will not consider your application complete, and it will not be reviewed until we have all of the pieces of the application, including that letter of sponsorship and the letter of recommendation. And reason being is that they really give us another perspective of you as a candidate, and the letters of sponsorship, how your company feels about you, their plans for you, how they're investing in you in the terms of time and in terms of money. Don't feel that you have to have financial sponsorship if you're not a fellows candidate. By all means, you still can apply. But if they are going to sponsor you financially, you'll want to put it in the letter and ask them to include that in the letter. And especially if it's something that they don't normally do. And in that case, point that out and have the employer point it out, because that really says something about you as an employee if they're willing to put their money behind you. And the letters of recommendation give us a number of different perspectives as well. All those things that Diane mentioned, how it is to work with you, and what you will add to the program is a matter of expertise.
Well, we hope you found these tips helpful, and we know that you have a unique case, each of you, so we hope you'll take advantage of scheduling a chat. You'll see on the slide here the URL, or you can go to our website and get all of this information. Please reach out to the committee, the coast to which you are applying, and help us get to know you throughout the process, wherever you might be in that process.